On today's EcksToo video, we'll be covering one of the greatest Star Wars fan projects I've ever seen, an animated recreation of Heir to the Empire, and hopefully the entire Thrawn Trilogy eventually. I've honestly never seen as much work put into a single fan project, so in this video, I'll explain why I think this is something special and why Heir to the Empire Animated needs your support. Hey guys, this is EcksToo. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars video. You guys know that I really like covering fan projects over here on EcksToo. I think it's great to be able to send traffic towards creators who really deserve it. And the people we'll be talking about today certainly do, as we'll be covering an extensive adaptation of the Thrawn Trilogy, probably the most famous Star Wars Expanded Universe work in existence. For those who are confused, the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and specifically Star Wars Legends, includes everything in the Star Wars universe that's not a movie, and which was created before Disney purchased Lucasfilm, with a few exceptions like the Clone Wars. So we're talking books, comic books, video games, etc. Although the Expanded Universe existed in some form since A New Hope, it was really the Thrawn Trilogy, and specifically Heir to the Empire in the 1990s, which kickstarted the EU and made it the force that we now know it as. However, while Legends has affected much of Star Wars canon, and I make videos on it all the time, there are still lots of you guys and lots of Star Wars fans generally who haven't read a single Legends book, and you know what? I completely understand it. Not everyone has time to sit down and read 3 books worth of material, plus, everything else in the EU. That's why I love projects like the one we'll be covering today, and the Dark Empire animation we covered a few weeks ago. Anything that can bring the Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe to more eyes is an absolutely positive thing, in my opinion. Alright, so let's get into things. We're looking specifically at the Heir to the Empire animation series created by Darth Angelus on YouTube, who is also known as Coded Transmission Studios, and of course Darth Angelus has been helped in his project by numerous voice actors who are credited in all of his videos, along with model makers and many other individuals. Of course, everything we'll be discussing in today's video will be linked down in the description. So this Heir to the Empire adaptation has a seriously impressive scope. Based on what we've seen so far, the goal is to remake every single chapter of the book in single video form, and many of these videos are 10 minutes or longer. Darth Angelus, who has lots of experiences in this niche making his own fan films and animation series, is using a program called iClone, and every single scene has full music, voice acting, animation, and everything else. And when you watch the episode 1, you can just see how impressive this all is. I mean, this isn't bare bones or something done in a restrictive engine. Basically anything that the characters need to do can be done. The first episode has almost a gratuitously expansive space scene. I mean, if he were looking to limit the amount of animation done, there are major parts that he could have cut out just to make things simpler. I think a really interesting comparison with this animation would be the Heir to the Empire comic book, or really all of the Thrawn comics, which obviously came out sometime after the novels. The comics cut down a lot of material. Entire scenes are just completely eliminated, while this series, according to the creator, wants to keep each scene as close to the book as possible. There is some stuff cut. For example, the opening of the Thrawn Trilogy starts with Pelion on the bridge of the Chimera, sort of thinking about the state of the Empire. That doesn't translate well to an animation, but other than that, it's not like conversations otherwise have been cut for time. This is a very, very extensive recreation of the original novel, far more so than the comic book or even what you'd get in something like an abridged novel. Because this is a visual medium versus something like the book, there are even some scenes which are expanded, and a really good example would be the Marg Sable. We get some basic details in the book about why the New Republic task force, as led by Elamans, is susceptible to a Marg Sable maneuver, but it's kind of just left ambiguous why that is. They can't respond properly to the formation. Episode 1, however, actually shows us what that might look like, and how the fleet is forced to scatter against an unconventional bombing run. Another good example of how a medium like this is better in my opinion than a comic comes from the second episode. So the comic completely takes out the conversation between Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker. It just basically has one line from Luke about him missing Obi-Wan, but that conversation is really important because it foreshadows Luke's relationship with Mara. It does a great job of setting the tone for the series and the stakes, and it establishes the Thrawn Trilogy as a new era for Star Wars in my opinion. That's totally cut from the comic, but it's reproduced pretty much totally in episode 2. And there's a lot of love here. You can tell that the creator really appreciates the Thrawn Trilogy. I mean, of course, Luke has his cup of hot chocolate, which is sort of a meme in the expanded universe by this point. And there's just little details everywhere that you would miss if you weren't a fan of the expanded universe. Now, I'm not going to go over every episode or even most episodes because I want you guys to watch the content for yourself. It's very digestible and, as I've been saying, a very accurate recreation. Another scene that I really liked for its accuracy was when Thrawn and Pelion go to Mount Tantus for the first time on Wayland. I just thought the scene perfectly recreated what I always imagined this bit to look like, especially with the buildings and everything else, as did the first shot of Merkur Base, Talon Karrde's installation, which was always one of my favorite locations in the book. Those scenes also show more of the little details that just make Star Wars Star Wars. Little things like the specific sound that a shuttle has when landing on a planet, or the background noise of TIE fighters, or what you would expect the city to look like on Coruscant. But besides story and faithfulness, there are other aspects to this animation we have to talk about. One would be the animation itself, the other would be sounds and voice actors. I thought the voice actors generally were really great. The two standouts for me would be Sabayoth and, funny enough, C-3PO. They both do phenomenal jobs, as does, I think, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Every main character has a voice actor. There's a pretty big cast in some of these episodes. I mean, there are multiple women and men, all of which are at the very least competent in my opinion, especially the main characters. The animation is also quite good. Obviously, there are some limitations. This is a one-man project, and there are, 32 chapters to go through? Certain characters can't quite be recreated. Well, I think the Bothans and especially Borsk are a little bit cursed. But one thing the creator himself pointed out is that there's already been some major improvements in character models since the project began, and he put up an example of how Talon Karrde's model has been improved within the engine. There's not a lot of lazy moments though, which I really appreciate. If a character has to turn on a view screen, they do so. It doesn't just flick on magically. Characters aren't just sitting around during the meeting with Talon and Mara. They're, sitting down and eating, not just standing in a kitchen. The animation never feels like it takes the easy way out, which I really appreciate just because the sheer amount of work that needs to be done. With that being said, how do we support this creator? Is the entire Thrawn Trilogy going to be finished? Will the rest of the Star Wars Expanded Universe be tackled? Well, here's what the creator has said in a few of his update videos. First of all, when he started Heir to the Empire with Episode 1, he was not sure whether he would do the entire book, but the reaction in the first few episodes has really been incredible, and so far, at least what he's posted publicly, he's committed to doing up to Episode 10. 32 chapters is a really tall order, and is it sustainable? I don't know. Certainly not if the project doesn't get our support, and I have noticed that views have begun to taper off a little bit in recent episodes, so what I'm asking you guys is to come in, help keep interest alive, and let's give the creator the support he needs to finish the project. If he does finish Heir to the Empire, well, he said it would be a shame not to do the other books in the Thrawn Trilogy, so that's really my hope, no matter how long it takes. So, how can you throw support towards this project? Well, besides just watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing, Darth Angelus also has a Ko-fi page where you can give him donations and just watch his other content. He doesn't monetize these fan films. Not only are they, of course, Lucasfilm's property and Disney's property now, but they also use copywritten music. So maybe watch some of his original projects. You can find them both on YouTube and on Amazon. Just be supportive, be good Star Wars Legends fans, help people making amazing projects like this continue what they're doing. It costs nothing really, just your support. But guys, that's all I have for this. Let me know. Should I do another video on this project? Maybe try to talk to the director or something else? Let me know all of that and more down in the comment section. My question of the day is, have you ever read the Thrawn Trilogy? Have you read maybe one of the books, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, or The Last Command? If you did, do you really like them, or do you think they're overrated? If not, have you ever read any Star Wars Legends books, and would you be interested in this? Personally, I always recommend the Thrawn Trilogy as anyone's introduction into the Star Wars EU, and if you don't want to read the books, I think that these animations are a great, comprehensive resource for you to get started. But guys, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, please be safe, and may the Force be with you.